So if you click this video, you are probably in your 20s or 30s. You probably have been stressed about money for a while. You have probably felt like you lacked control or you lacked a sense of competence around your money. And if you click this video, shout outs to you for actually taking the time and the initiative to seek out more knowledge around money. You've taken the first step. Let's get into it. Hey guys, and welcome to Growing with Sherry. My name is Sherry, and I am passionate about financial development, financial literacy. I have been investing for the last 12 years, and I'm excited about sharing my personal journey with you, as well as showing tips and tricks for leveling up on your financial journey. So if you are here, you are probably wondering, how do I get myself together in my 20s and 30s to be able to make better and smarter decisions around my finances? Well, the first thing that I would recommend to you, if you are trying to get yourself together financially but don't know where to start, is to make sure that you are paying yourself first. So we live in a society where it is common practice for us to pay every single other bill collector and every other single expense before we pay ourselves. So what this looks like is we get our paycheck and we feel inclined to set up automatic payments to our phone bills, to our internet bills, to our landlords. And while doing this, we put those bill payments and expenses at the priority, at the forefront of access to our money. In doing this, we actually deprioritize ourselves when it comes to access to our money. And does that really make any sense? You are the one that works so hard for your money. You are the one that goes into work each day and stays committed to the job, to the employer that you have to be able to make that money. And after you pay all of those expenses and all of those bills, you are left with nothing? You have $0 at the end of the day? No, that is not fair. So what I need you to do in 2026 is to make sure that you are paying yourself first. Make sure that you are prioritizing yourself when you are getting your paycheck and ensuring that you are also one of the payees on your bill payment, that you are also getting a cut of the money that you worked so hard for throughout that 2 weeks or throughout the month. And what this looks like is when you get your paycheck, decide what is feasible for you. Maybe it's $50, maybe it's $100, maybe it's $200, but setting yourself up to ensure that you get to have a portion of the money that you have made automatically withdrawn and put into a savings account, or if you're at that level, into an investing account, so that you are actually getting to see and reap a portion of the money that you have worked so hard for each paycheck that you receive. All right, the second thing that you need to do to get yourself together financially in your 20s and 30s is to build an emergency fund. Honestly, an emergency fund was the best thing that I ever invested in for myself. An emergency fund is the reason why I was able to quit my job when it was no longer serving me and be able to afford to be off for at least 3 to 6 months while I transitioned between jobs or pivoted in a new direction. Having an emergency fund is such an amazing preventative way to feel a better sense of control when it comes to your money. So in order to build an emergency fund, you want to make sure that you're putting a certain amount of money away. And this is for safekeeping in the event that you run into a financial emergency. So what we constitute as a financial emergency is, for example, your car breaks down and you need to be able to pay for repairs, or maybe you're in a relationship and your partner gets sick and they're no longer able to pay their portion of the rent. So maybe you need to rise to the occasion and be able to make additional payments. Maybe you are injured and you are off of work and maybe you don't have any disability benefits and you need to be able to pay for yourself for an extended amount of time while you are off of work. An emergency fund really gives you a peace of mind and it makes you feel more confident when you run into emergencies. It's recommended to have at least 3 to 6 months of your expenses put aside to your emergency fund. So let's say you spend about $3,000 per month. That would mean that for 3 months of expenses, you would have about $9,000 set aside into your emergency fund. And let's say you wanted to have 6 months worth of an emergency fund, then you would have about $18,000 set aside in the event of an emergency. With an emergency fund, you need to be disciplined disciplined. It's a very disciplined process to be able to remove money from your paycheck on a regular basis to be able to fund an emergency fund, but it also requires a lot of discipline to actually not touch an emergency fund. An emergency fund is not a place that you decide you want to go on vacation and you withdraw money from. An emergency fund is not a place that you decide, oh, I don't have enough clothes, I want to go shopping, so I'm going to go and take money from my emergency fund. You need to be disciplined enough to save your money for an emergency. They do come, you'll be surprised, but when you have an emergency fund, you're going to feel much more confident to navigate financially. It equips you to feel much more confident when you actually run into this emergency so that you're not freaking out. So you're not worried about money while navigating the emergency that you encounter. The third thing that I would recommend that you do to get yourself together financially in 2026 is to start tracking your expenses. So it's going to be really hard to have a sense of clarity around your finances if you actually don't know how much you're spending. When you track your expenses, you'll be super surprised of how much you are actually spending in areas that you had no idea of. For example, that Uber Eats habit that you might have after a long day of work, or that shopping habit that you might have when you start to get stressed or you start to feel worried. It will start to reveal yourself when you start to track your expenses. You would actually be surprised about how much you're spending. A lot of times when I would ask people that I work with, how much do you think you're spending? They always underestimate how much they are actually spending, because a lot of times with this consumerist culture and this capitalist culture of spending, a lot of times we spend money so much more easily because we are able to tap our card, or we are able to automatically connect our cards to these websites, which makes spending so much easier, and it makes spending an unconscious process. And as a result, you end up spending much more than you were under the impression of. So start tracking your spending this year. Then you can know how much you spend on average, and then you can become intentional about cutting out certain areas to ensure that you have much more money for savings. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, if you are dedicated to personal finance and you are ready to level up on your financial journey, please hit subscribe so that you can follow up with upcoming videos. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Peace.